In this lesson, what we're going to look at is what the template should look like for an XHTML 1.0 transitional website. This is probably the most common structure of a website. However, HTML5 is growing in popularity, so eventually you'll want to make a switch over to that. And we call this a doc type. And it's the very first line of syntax here, and this is just taken from the W3C website, and we put it in here so that browsers can know which version of code that we're using. We also add in a little syntax in here. This also helps us pass the W3C standard validation test. And then we get into our head info, and we are basically using this to put in our character set, which probably 95% of the time you're going to want to use the UTF-8. We put a spot in for our title, a spot in for your name, the author's name, a spot in for your jQuery and your JavaScript, and then we have the remainder of our HTML coding. So how you would use this is you could remove the content there, and we're going to also look at creating a table. That's the table element. I would come up here and rename this
Christine Regan to the office, please.
to table website. And before I get too far into it, I want to make sure that I save and do save as, not saved, save as. That way I make sure that I don't overwrite my template file. In a table, we'll have table rows, and within those rows we'll have table columns. You can have an unlimited amount of rows and an unlimited amount of columns. In this case, we have one row, two columns. Now, the columns always have to match, otherwise you won't pass validation. So in this row we have two columns, in this row we have one. We would either have to add another column, or we can combine columns by using the attribute called colspan. And in this case we would want it to span two columns, and it merges them. So this is still a correct table. This is still a two-row, two-column table. And then we would put our content inside of here. Now pay attention that the columns are child elements to the rows. So if we want to add a style attribute to both columns, we could do it from here. I'm going to save this, and I can preview this. And there we go. We have my row 1, column 1, row 1, column 2, and my row 2, columns 1 and 2. And those are the basic elements to a table.